So I'm not really a programmer, but I've kind of dabbled around with it on and off in my life. Like I understand some of the basics, like different types of variables. I understand programming functions like loops and arrays and that kind of stuff. And I understand the logic around it. And I've dabbled in it in my life. I wouldn't call myself a programmer, but this Cursor AI has really helped me a lot. There's one thing I really want to point out here. So as I ask Cursor AI to kind of like iterate through things or tell it like here's an issue or here's a problem or here's something to take a closer look at, it would just kind of compulsively keep blurting out more code and more code and more code until at some point I told it like just stop blurting out code, just stop and think for a minute. And it said, you're absolutely right. I apologize for my scattered approach. I'll take a step back and think through this logically. Then it started going step by step, one, two, three, four, through all the logic and the workflow that I needed. And then I continued the conversation and it continued on with just step by step logic. Explain to me step by step the logic of the current hook as I'm developing a web hook to take Stripe payments through my website. And I said, do not provide code, just explain. You can see that here. And then it went, certainly, here's a step by step explanation of the logic in your current hook file. And it went one, two, three, four. Even in a spot like four, where there's multiple steps, it would do A and B underneath four. Here at seven, it's like A, and here's bullet points for A under seven, and then seven has A, B, and C with bullet points under each one. We continued some back and forth conversation. I told it, now we can continue to the logic, go back into the memory or context window and remind me what I said before about the password creation, which happens after the customer makes a payment. And it went right through one, two, three, four, five, all the steps. And I said, this sounds like a good idea, except can the account creation page be made in Streamlit instead of Flask? Because that's where the style sheet is, and we want a cohesive experience for the user. And Claude Sonnet 3.5, which is the AI that's in Cursor, said you're absolutely right to consider the user experience and aesthetic cohesion. It's a great idea to use Streamlit, blah, blah, blah. And we worked out all the logic for that. Then finally I said, generate code based on the logic in the last few conversation points. Now it gave me code that's more cohesive and makes more sense based on what we need to do. I've seen a lot of people discuss prompting who would say, give it a prompt, solve a problem, then work through your reasoning step by step. I'm saying do it the other way around. Give it your logic first, have it work through the workflow and the logic steps one at a time, then have it do the problem solving. And that not only goes with coding in AI, but also just in AI chat in general. I've also found that Claude Sonnet 3.5 is especially good at that type of reasoning because we don't really have AIs that think that deeply first. So you have to come up with ways to superficially prompt it to come up with deeper reasoning. If you're new here and haven't seen me before, I don't really do videos about coding and programming. My channel is about open source AI language models, and I curate and test them. And I also do instructional videos about how you can run open source AI on your own computer, especially in Linux. If that's something that would interest you, then go ahead and gently caress that subscribe button.